Hey, you. Thank you for joining me for episode number 162 of Better Regulate Than Never. I wanted to talk to you about how we can use the Halloween season to help our self-care and help our mental health. Now, I know that some people don't celebrate Halloween, and that's totally fine. But if you live in the States anyway, and I don't know if this is like this in other countries because I've never been to other countries, at least during the Halloween time, but you see Halloween stuff everywhere. It's in the stores, there's advertisements about it, people's yards are decorated in all sorts of Halloween things. And so, even if you're not celebrating it, you will be exposed to Halloween things because that's just the way our culture is with Halloween. So I wanted you to think about ways that you could use this time to help your mental health. And I've actually had so much fun this month trying to think of Halloween themed topics. And so this one I think is a really good one because some people don't celebrate. The first thing that I think is the most fun is just about being creative. Now, I've talked about it in different episodes, just how being creative is really helpful to your mental health. And I think last week in the dark side of social media, I talked about how you could use devices to be creative and how that would be a positive way to use devices in social media. And that's kind of how I use devices and social media a lot, as being creative, and this podcast and YouTube channel is creative. But Halloween gives us a lot of experiences to be creative. Not only like what our costume is going to be if you are dressing up for Halloween, and that seems to be kind of like a kid thing, but there are a lot of adults who dress up. And this year I'm dressing up. I think, on my Halloween episode, I'm going to wear my costume that I'm planning to wear this year for different events, because I'm going to go with my grandkids to some of the Halloween events, and this year I wanted to dress up. But also, like, if you have a Halloween party, you decorate in that way, or maybe you decorate your house in fall or Halloween. Maybe you're going to create some other things that have to do with Halloween or fall, but all of those take creative energy and are all good to help your mental health. I went to a meeting recently where people were talking, the roll call question was, what is your favorite costume that you ever wore? And it was funny because a lot of the adults were complaining that they didn't ever get to buy a costume, that their family made their costumes, and they always felt like it was so lame. But as we went around, and a lot of people were talking about their families creating the costumes or their moms making the costumes, they were like, oh, I thought everyone else got a purchased costume and I was the only one that had one that my parents made. But so, there's a lot of interesting. You can be creative in the way you pick your costume too. Even if you are purchasing it, it doesn't have to be one that's made. My grandson is 2 years old, and we've been asking him for several months what he wants to be. Now, I realize he doesn't really understand what is Halloween, but he has some books that has some pictures of costumes, or he has a book, I think it's called Spooky Words or something, so it has a lot of words about Halloween or fall. And so originally he just kept saying purple hat. And so we would show him all these pictures of costumes that had purple hats, but he didn't really ever seem to point to any of them or really want them. So then my daughter took him to a costume shop so that she would just watch which one he really gravitated towards. But she said he just ran around the store. So finally, on his birthday, which his birthday's in October, we asked him again, what do you want to be for Halloween? And he said a scary ghost. So I think he's going to be a scary ghost, but I'm not sure. But there's like a whole fun thing when you think about being creative and choosing your costume. Also, both of my kids have October birthdays. And so when they were growing up, we would have Halloween parties for their friend party. Now, we didn't have a Halloween party when we had the family over, but as they got older, they had a friend party and they had a family party. And the friend party was a Halloween party, and their friends could come dressed in their costumes. We had Halloween games, we had Halloween food. Their cake would be something Halloween themed, or maybe we would have Halloween cookies, something different from their other party. And it was so fun to have them be part of the planning of it. And the kids always had a lot of fun with all the Halloween themed treats and games, and everyone left with like a trick or treat bag that had things in it. And it was just really fun. There's also all sorts of fall crafts, and they don't have to be Halloween themed. They can be like fall leaves or pumpkins or just different things that kind of mean fall instead of Halloween. Also, Halloween can be used to face your fears. Now, I want you to, if you have PTSD or you have a lot of trauma in your life, I'm not telling you to do this in those instances, because then I think facing your fears and doing scary things or going to scary movies or haunted houses or whatever is probably no way you should be doing that. But everyone in the world has a fear of fear. And so if you just have like a average or everyday fear, then watching scary movies if you want to, or going to haunted houses, or doing different things that kind of increase your fear so that you can almost build a resilience to it is a good thing. I think that's why I like scary movies, because I want to face fears, but in a way that doesn't actually put me in scary situations. So it's up to you. And again, if you have trauma or you have PTSD or something that would really trigger you with haunted houses and scary movies, please don't do that. But if you just want to experience fear and try to build up some resilience to it, I think it could be really fun for you to do that. Also, there's just a lot of Halloween parties and get-togethers and things that are going on, so it's good for your social connection. Getting together with friends and just spending time with loved ones, playing games, all of that reduces our feelings of being lonely, and it improves our well-being, because we are a species that needs to belong to something. So hanging out with your friends and doing fun things like that is a good thing. Also, this is kind of, I think I jumped the gun with the grandson story, but self-exploration. Like when you're choosing your costume, explore who do you want to be? What heroes are you really looking at right now? Or what, have you ever wanted to really be kind of not as nice? So picking a costume where it's like a vampire or a witch or something that kind of is on the bad side, or the I don't want to say evil because that makes it sound too scary, but like on the scary side, maybe you could explore your scary side or your meaner side by choosing some of these costumes that are characters that are not so nice. I remember my daughter used to like the bad characters in the Disney movies more than she liked the good ones. And I always thought, what is wrong? But I think it's just like exploring what is that, that darker side of my personality, and, what does that mean? So I think that can be kind of fun. And I remember I was a theater person in high school, and you could get into character before you put the costume on, but it wasn't until you had that costume on that you really became that character. And I think that's what's so fun. And so that's another tip about how this can help you with self-care and mental health. It's kind of a temporary escape. It's just like when we watch a movie and we escape into it, or we read a book and we escape into that world that we're reading about. When you put on a costume, you are escaping into another person's life for a short time. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually good for us to explore, what does that mean about us? And it gives us a break from our routine lives to do something different and fun. And just the whole play and fun element of Halloween. We do look at it mostly like a child or young people holiday, but we can all enjoy some playful fun during the time. There's a lot of like pumpkin patches right now that have all these different events and activities. And I haven't been to any of those yet because it kind of became a thing after my kids had already been through the Halloween parties and stuff. And so now I'm really looking forward to going to these events with my grandkids so that I can experience them and I can play too and I can enjoy doing these things. And that's why I'm going to wear a costume when I go this year. I like dressing up and I haven't done it for a long time, so I'm going to enjoy doing that. And there's also kind of like fall and Halloween themed games that we play more often during this time, like bobbing for apples. I don't usually hear about that in other seasons, but I think it's because apples are in season during this time in the fall. And so that became part of Halloween or fall parties. And jack-o'-lantern carving or pumpkin carving. And that is more Halloween themed, but that also helps with your creativity, but it's also fun. And it's something that we don't do very often. And I remember, I may have done this once with my kids. The whole scooping them out is kind of yucky, but there's seeds in there and you can take the seeds out and bake them with some salt or different things. And that's kind of a fun treat that you don't have very often, which has to do with enjoying the tastes and the sounds and just the sights of this time of year that we don't have at any other season. Because it's fall, our trees are changing colors, at least where I live. And if you have changing of seasons, where you live, the fall, the autumn is the time where the trees change and the leaves are starting to fall and pumpkin everything. I've not ever really been a pumpkin fan, but I know some people are so excited about fall because now everything's pumpkin flavored. So if you like that, that's enjoying the tastes and just the sights. Because like I said, everywhere you drive, people have their yards decorated, their doors decorated, the store, wherever you go to the store. I mean, everything. There's even like some really, like the decorations are getting so much bigger. Somebody showed me a picture of a 12-foot skeleton in someone's yard. I want to go see it for real. I'm going to drive by there, but they showed me on their phone. I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, like, things are just getting like so crazy. We went to Lowe's to pick up some construction supplies like a month ago, and there were these electronic huge, they were probably like 20 or more feet tall, like animatronic things, witches or skeletons or whatever. And I was like, I wouldn't ever spend the money on that kind of stuff, but it was really fun to look at it. There's also a lot of generosity that goes on, like with the trick-or-treating, at your house, you have this candy and people come by and you're giving this candy or giving treats or giving a gift so being generous in that way. And there's also like these trunk or treat events where it's kind of like a charity type thing sometimes. And so you could be, if you're a generous person, you could be donating to that kind of stuff or volunteering your time to work in these haunted houses and these trunk or treats or whatever. So and charity and generosity is so good for our mental health. And if you haven't tried that, totally get involved in some event. And just anticipating Halloween. I remember my kids being so excited to wear their costume to school or to go on the Halloween parade or just all the planning and the excitement that it takes to get to Halloween can be really fun. It's kind of like when we're anticipating Christmas and that season or whatever other seasons that you celebrate. Thanksgiving, people get excited about that or get excited about Valentine's Day or whatever. I used to get excited about all the holidays in school because there were different parties or things that were revolving around that. And I always loved having something to look forward to. And having something to look forward to is part of our mental health. So I just want you to think about, even if you don't celebrate Halloween, just think about it as fall, because fall is just a season. And think about, what are all the things that you can enjoy about this season that are just good for your mental health? Just looking around your area and just taking in all the sights and the sounds and the tastes, because that's about being mindful and about being present in your life all the time. And so I just want you to use this season to make your mental health and your self-care as amazing as you can. And I can't wait to talk to you more about more like Halloween and October fall based episodes. I'll talk to you soon.